Earlier today, the website WikiLeaks released nearly 400,000 classified military documents on the Iraq War. They reportedly revealed details concerning thousands of previously unreported civilian deaths and torture against detainees by Iraqi authorities. Its founder was among a panel who spoke at a news conference in London to talk about his group's findings. This is an hour and 15 minutes.
For Investigative Journalism at City University, and I'll be attempting to moderate this morning. The press conference, as you know, is dedicated to the release of the Iraq war logs this morning. And these releases are based on 400,000 classified documents that were received and published by WikiLeaks. You will have seen the print, of course, and television coverage this morning. Those speaking this morning are Julian Assange, the editor of WikiLeaks, which he founded in 2006. WikiLeaks has won a number of awards, including the Index on Censorship's 2008 Economist New Media Award, and an award of distinction from the Prix Arts Electronica. In June 2009, WikiLeaks and Julian Assange won Amnesty International's UK Media Award, and in July this year, he won the Sam Adams Award for Integrity. He's joined by HRAFNSSON, who became actively involved with WikiLeaks on the collateral murder video earlier this year and has traveled to Baghdad on a fact-finding mission. He has 20 years experience as an investigative journalist with Channel 2 News, which is a private broadcaster, and RUV, the Icelandic public state broadcaster. He's been awarded twice Iceland's highest journalism award. After WikiLeaks on the panel is John Sloboda. Since 2003, John has been coordinator of the Iraq Body Count Project, an ongoing human security project maintaining and updating the world's largest public database of violent civilian deaths since the 2003 invasion. He's a consultant and director of the Oxford Research Group's Recording Casualties in Armed Conflict program and chairs the International Advisory Group. He is emeritus professor of psychology at the University of Kiel and an honorary professor at the School of Politics and International Relations at Royal Holloway, University of London. The Iraq body count data, I should mention, has been used by an extraordinary group of people: the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, Al Jazeera, Open Democracy, The Independent, The Guardian, the World Health Organization, the International Criminal Court, the New England Journal of Medicine, and the European Union's Joint Research Center and the Brookings Institute in Washington. And at 10:25, we'll also be hearing from Phil Shiner. Phil Shiner leads the team at Public Interest Lawyers. He's been practicing as a solicitor in the UK since 1981 and has written extensively on international and human rights law. In recent years, he has acted in some of the most important judicial review cases to be brought in his area of expertise, and in March 2010, he led the team to success in the European Court of Human Rights in a particularly important case. He was made a Solicitor of the Year, by the way, in 2008, and was in the Sunday Times top 10 solicitors in Britain in the same year. So I think we can now start with Julian Assange.
Thank you, Gavin. Because we don't have much time, I won't speak for long. But this disclosure is about the truth. Philip Knightley, the great investigative reporter, an Australian who for the past 30 or 40 years has made the UK his home, said that the first casualty of war is the truth. But the attack on the truth by war begins long before war starts and continues long after a war ends. In our release of these 400,000 documents about the Iraq War, the intimate detail of that war from the US perspective, we hope to correct some of that attack on the truth that occurred before the war, during the war, and which has continued on since the war officially concluded. In that material, the deaths of some 109,000 people are documented. Internally declared 66,000 civilians. Working with the Iraq body count, we have seen that there are approximately 15,000 never previously documented or known cases of civilians who have been killed by violence in Iraq. That tremendous scale should not make us blind to the small human scale that occurs in this material. In fact, it is the deaths of 1 and 2 people per event that killed the overwhelming number of people in Iraq. Following our release of the Afghan War Diaries, we thought we would try and pull together a broader coalition, not just involving print, but one that had the emotionality and impact of TV, journalism, and extra research from other groups. So we structured a collaboration between The Guardian, Spiegel, New York Times, our 3 previous print partners, and new groups, the Bureau for Investigative Journalism, the Iraq Body Count, whose knowledge of deaths in Iraq is unsurpassed, SVT, the Swedish television, Al Jazeera, Channel 4, BBC Radio, and I'm sure I've missed some others. Yes, Le Monde. That collaboration seems to have worked. And we will see over the next few days what's to be made of it. But so far, we can see a fairly strong response. We have seen, as of 3 a.m. This morning, 1,500 articles according to Google News, and of course, all around the world, we can see the result. We make a promise to our sources who go through incredible risks sometimes to get us material that we will do justice to their efforts and get them the maximum political impact possible. And while I'm not sure that we have achieved the maximum possible, I think we're getting pretty close. And with that, I'll introduce you now to KRISTINN.
Thank you. When WikiLeaks announced the release of the Afghan War Diary on July 26th, the organization was condemned by the Pentagon for releasing material that was described as sensitive and harmful both to Afghanis and the troops in the country. Those overblown statements were echoed in most of the media without any criticism or critical question. 3 months have passed now, and there have been no reports of any harm in relation to the release of the Afghan War Diary. This has even been acknowledged by the Pentagon. Last week, some news organizations obtained a copy of a letter sent by U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates to the head of the Senate Armed Services Committee on August 16th. This was about the same time that Gates and Pentagon spokesperson were sending out strongly worded statements aimed at WikiLeaks. In Gates' letter, however, it is acknowledged that the Afghan documents had not revealed any, quote, sensitive intelligence sources or methods, unquote. Last week, a top NATO official reiterated in a statement to the press that he had not seen any harm as a result of the release. The contrast between the letter, the quote by the NATO official, and the hyped statements by the Pentagon spokesperson should be a reminder that people should not accept condemning statements against WikiLeaks without question. In relation to the Afghan files, WikiLeaks withheld 1 in 6 reports, 15,000 in all, for line-by-line reviewing and reduction. That work is now finished, and the reports will be released soon. This time, WikiLeaks took a new approach to the redacting process. It used an electronic redaction method combined with tests done by groups of people. It is an innovative approach and has been perfected by a group of people contributing to the process. It can best be described as a reverse approach to redaction. At the outset, everything in all reports was deemed harmful and redacted until proven otherwise. From there on, words, phrases, locations, abbreviations, etc., were uncovered or unredacted step by step. The work in the passing weeks have therefore been focusing on minimizing the redaction. Along the way, batches of documents were taken out and tested by a group of qualified volunteers, and further tests were done on the 390,000 documents. We are confident now that the documents in the highly redacted form contain no information that could be harmful to individuals. Having said that, I would like to add that every system can contain flaws, but the likelihood of any flaw in our approach is surely minimal. The end result which we are presenting is still in a highly redacted cache of documents. Despite the over-reductions, the war log is easily readable and can be data mined for new stories and angles for those interested. We will also look into the possibility of providing news media and academics access to unredacted parts of the documents upon request. Furthermore, it needs to be emphasized that we aim to continue on the track of further minimizing the reductions, but being a small organization with limited resources, this could take some time.
Thanks, KRISTINN. You'll see on warlogs.wikileaks.org the interface that KRISTINN spoke of. That permits full text searching of the entire redacted collection, including sort of Boolean terms. You can search for keywords like OGA, other government agency, a euphemism typically for the CIA or DIA. We also partnered with OMI to produce a system where people who have information about these events can comment on them and rate them. Go to the website and have a look at that. There's a lot of, obviously there's a tremendous worldwide interest at the moment, so those systems may be slow, but if you persevere across the day, you will find them to be quite usable. It's what we use partially internally, and the Iraq body count also has a system which they'll describe.
John? In any human disaster, finding out who died and how they died is the overriding public concern. But 7 years on, the public does not have a full account of the terrible human cost of this ongoing Iraq war to the Iraqi people.